Hi guys, Hari here. I know it's been a little while, but yeah, well, I guess I can talk about that for a short second here before the game starts. Basically, just the holiday season, kind of busy with friends and family, so didn't really have much time. I hadn't really been playing much on at all. Um, and on top of that, 2.0 kind of made recording these a little bit more difficult because, I got a lot of feedback that people wanted good games, and well, now that everything's matchmaking and I'm kind of like low ranking in matchmaking, most of the games have been pretty bad, pretty one-sided, or really, really obviously ruined by obvious mistakes. And unfortunately, public games just are pretty rare, at least in anything but all pick, which I don't really want to play for these. So yeah, that's basically what's kind of happened. But I'm trying to work through it. So you get some kind of mediocre games. Anyway, I'll go into picks here real quick. Obviously, so I pick up Swiftblade because we want to do a Swiftblade Plague Lane. Then we have Meraxis, Dampier, and Voodoo Jester, just kind of as our best picks. Meraxis could have been Chipper as well. Either one was fine. And so then we would have had Chipper or Meraxis mid or Dampier mid. Any of those is just really fine as well. Especially because we're going to be going up Tundra against Tundra mid, most likely on the other team. So it should be melee on melee. We decided to have Dampier instead of Meraxis, which is fine. Like I don't really know if one or the other would have been better. I'm sure someone will have an opinion, which they can let me know, which would have been great. But yeah, so then we're gonna put Plague Swift bottom. Plague Swift is just an awesome lane, and then Meraxis and Voodoo Jester top, just because they're kind of a more defensive lane, and they'll have pretty good harass. Plus, it's like impossible to kill Meraxis. Yeah, so starting items here, go with the hatchet. As far as possible, like, alright, yeah, that's one thing in all the games you're gonna see that it takes me probably a while to buy items because I'm pretty rusty and I'm not really used to item builds for these heroes again, just because I've been out of practice. Yeah, there's a decent chance with a Plague Swift lane of going for First Blood, but you don't really need the boots because you have the slow anyway, so I'm definitely not going to go boots first. Hatchet's probably not necessary. In fact, while playing in this lane, I wouldn't say regretted getting the hatchet, but realized that I didn't necessarily need it. And kind of wish I'd just bought something else instead, just maybe another +3 agility and one more thing of regen or something. But yeah, well, because it kind of depends. Like, if they're really going to compete with your lane, then the hatchet's going to be pretty good, well worth its money. But if they're not going to be able to compete with your lane, if you're going to kind of blow them out, then the hatchet doesn't really do too much. So it's tough to say which is going to happen normally, but yeah, as we'll see. Anyway, so here's Hammer. I'm telling Plague not to run right next to me, because we kind of could have both got hammered and screwed, but it didn't really matter anyway. So yeah, then there's none of them. Kind of see top for a second, where one of their people gets caught, but isn't going to get killed. So now, yeah, we're just going to kind of try to sneak around here. Like, so the question to begin with is whether we would have just gone and hit out in the outpost, or challenged the rune. But I wanted to get the rune, just because, preventing the opposing mid from getting double damage or illusions and stuff is kind of good, and we were able to get him forward anyway. So obviously we're going to go for Poly instead of the Hammer because he has less HP. Just wait for the slow to go off and then begin spinning, making sure always to stay as close to him as possible. I hate when people go into here because the fog is annoying, but obviously that's the reason people do it. You can see Plague here is making sure not to hit him. Like, I wouldn't have really minded if he'd hit him. Well, and especially I was actually calling for it once back when I realized there was 2 hits left on him. But he's making sure to give me First Blood, just because, whenever possible, giving your carry First Blood is important. Which also kind of goes into, alright, so like, I know carry games are kind of boring, which is why I'd never done one before, but I realize if I'm going to do, basically a bunch of different heroes, inevitably carries are going to happen. So I think Swiftblade's a more interesting carry to watch because, unlike someone like Kronos, who's really just going to farm for about an hour, Swiftblade actually does have some early game potential, which is why I think Swiftblade's such a good hero. Yeah, here I send myself boots. Still not used to being able to buy boots from the outpost. I realize that I can, and but really I think this was my first game back after the holidays, so definitely extremely rusty in this game. But I casted it anyway, because I know you guys like to watch me be bad, which happens all too often, in fact. So yeah, just having Plague pull and then jump around. Well, he was pulling because Poly wasn't back, and killing Hammer is going to be pretty difficult. He really has a lot of HP and is stunned. It's going to make it hard to kill him. Now that Poly's back, I obviously want to kill him as soon as possible. Yeah, you can see I tried to finish my whatever it's called, iron buckler in this, or I'm sorry guys, I'm really sorry about this. But I didn't realize that I'd only bought, once again, one of the duck boots instead of two, so I couldn't complete it, and I was like, ah, shit. Which, because again, I guess probably typical Swiftblade build, I don't go hatchet. Must be the case. Although, who knows. Anyway, so Plague's pulled, but instead of soaking up the XP, I'm telling him to come to the lane right now so we can slow them and kill them. Unfortunately, the creep wave completely pushed, so I kind of have to loop around. If they're intelligent here, they probably should have backed up, but they have not. So, yep, once again, I don't start spinning right away because, again, I want to make sure he gets the slow off first. I possibly could have got killed. Swiftblade doesn't have a ton of HP. If Hammer had stunned off of the tongue tide, but he didn't. I thought Plague would be able to get him there. I think if he'd attack move once more, he would have, but no big deal. Like I said, so now basically we are dominating this lane, which makes the hatchet kind of pointless, because yeah, they're not really going to be able to play up very much at all. Their lane combo is just not very great. Yeah, see here I realize I need to buy another duck boot, and then I finish my shield. Polyhammer's not terrible, but Poly just in side lanes generally is not that great. He can be alright, but I mean obviously he's good with Swiftblade, but yeah, I mean so yeah, Hammer basically just has, I mean, at this point Hammer does have low enough HP that if he were to come up we should be able to get him. In fact, Plague should slow him right there, yep, and he does, and then I go for the spin. And then I get juked terribly. Like I said, guys, I am bad. Remember, you learn just as much from someone's mistakes as you do from them making intelligent moves. Yeah, that was basically just a situation of getting juked. Well, it actually wasn't really even juked. He was basically just running away from me. Like, that wasn't even like what you would call a good juke. That was, like, I was just dumb, basically. So the catapult was there. Obviously, I can't run through the catapult, so if I'm clicking to the other side of the catapult, the game's going to pick a pathing for me. And if we learned anything from Han, it's that for all its obviously good attributes, its pathing is probably not one of the best. So you always need to do whatever you can to help the pathing along, so to speak. So I should have known not to click on the other side, to click, as you've seen most of the times when I'm spinning, I'm clicking just barely in front of my hero so that I'm always constantly controlling where he's going. So I should have made sure to control myself up around the catapult rather than just clicking to the other side of the catapult, because obviously he's not going to run on the bottom of the catapult back to my tower. He's obviously going to try to go to the top side of it. So anyway, that's it. Yeah, what else is going on here? My build, just 2 levels of stats. I just get 2 for levels 2 and 4, and then I'll start actually getting his passives after level 6. As well as I went with 2 minor totems, just because, having extra stats for more spins early, and for being able to ult spin or spin ult later on is really nice. Here we're going to try to go on them, but Hammer intelligently gets a good stun off when he sees Plague coming from the side, so it prevents us from killing them, which is fine. I have level 3 spin now, so should easily be able to get a kill. I say just to go on either of them normally here. Yeah, see, I'm kind of spinning going for Hammer to begin with, because with a level 3 spin I should be able to kill either of them, but Poly stays up too, so we're able to kill him. I'm telling Plague to back off. I don't really want him to come here, because he could potentially get stunned and blown out. Stunned and blown out. There we go. I learned 2 grammar. So yeah, next I'm going to complete phase boots. Fortunately, pretty much everything I want early on for Swiftblade I can get from the outpost, which I love. Because next I'm going to work towards a Runed Axe, which a Ring of Health is also conveniently at the outpost. That's really nice, being a carry who doesn't need to use the courier much. Assuming we have the lane kind of, in a medium position like this. Obviously, we're going to pull it somewhat, but because of being aggressive, spin damage, hitting creeps, etc., they're kind of getting pushed back regardless. Yeah, so, I mean, that's basically all there is to it right now. Not really a ton happening. Yeah, Poly kind of trying to come into the lane and do his moderate harassment, but Plague actually had double stacked before pulling, which is always a good thing to do, because obviously when you just pull with a single stack of creeps, it's actually going to end up pushing the lane even more, because you're going to get basically 2 waves of creeps together. But when you double stack, you completely destroy 1 creep wave, which is great. and because it obviously pulls the lane back and prevents them from getting XP for an entire creep wave. Yeah, unfortunately, I see they're kind of going back now, so I kind of run out. Maybe I shouldn't have there. The truth of the matter is that I thought they were going to go back. Like, I thought the last glimpse I saw of them was them running back to the tower, suspecting the gank. So I just kind of ran out anyway. Unfortunately, I didn't have my ult yet. I was barely not level 6. Otherwise, I probably would have been able to pick one of them off. I could have potentially gone for the spin with phase boots there to catch Poly because he's pretty low HP, but I just didn't really want to risk it. No reason to get too aggressive. Doing well enough. I mean, yeah, I'll just be able to keep farming. If they have to go all the way back to the tower, they're not getting experience or gold, and they're not preventing my farm at all. So as much as Swiftblade does have a strong early game, I mean, he is still a carry, and farming is good. No, it's not the most exciting thing. Yeah, there's Pyro. I think mid had called it. I probably should have backed up a little bit sooner. But whenever I would call like that, I mean, I'm just trying to do my best to, just always keep my finger ready at Q to spin out of trouble, because none of them really have that good of lead-in, except for Hammerstorm. So, yeah, we can see Hammer's, kind of playing up here. I thought Plague wanted to go on in there, but I mean, he was just harassing, which Plagues are wont to do. I should definitely not be standing up there, because Pyro still has not gone back mid, so I should do whatever I can to always stay on the bottom of the creep wave, not at the top, so that they can't jump me from the woods. I should kind of always stay, like, if you see the road, I should kind of stay on the bottom side of the gravel road there, never go above it. Yep, so see here, I can't go above it. Oh yeah, see, that's just way too far up, and basically that's exactly what happens. Pyro did really hang around a long time, longer than you would normally expect a mid that tried to come gank to hang around. However, when a lane's getting really dominated like that, you can kind of expect it. See here, you can see Dampier comes in, and yeah, he's going to be able to kill one of them. And back off. But yeah, so, like I said, kind of a little bit long to hang around, but their lane was really getting dominated, so I'm sure they were asking